Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Just Enough Heshy show. And in about 5 minutes, we're going to have about 100,000 additional listeners from our three live broadcasts that are going out. But I want to welcome back my Instagram fans, and I'm so happy. I have my friend over here, which you can't see his whole face. I don't know why, Brian. He's a lawyer, Brian Gustman, and we have a lot to talk to him about. But you're not important. I'm the star.
That's right.
You don't mind.
That's right.
But the YouTube people on Facebook will see you.
Okay.
Anyways, Brian doesn't know the rules that on every show I have a joke and a quote. You have to laugh. I know you're a lawyer and you're going to sue me if it's a bad joke. But anyways, if you don't have to laugh, I have two jokes in case. We have a lot to talk about with Brian. Brian is a lawyer. He's going to be running for assembly of the 41st district that I will personally back him. But you know, it's not only that. I'm running now a campaign, which I'm going to tell everybody about, against Kalman Yeager. He's the incumbent city council who does nothing. But I'm not allowed to talk bad about him, I'm told, so I'm not talking bad about him. I'm going to fix this camera a little bit. I'm not talking bad about him, but my point is I know when I beat him, he's going to be coming after you, Brian, because they promised him the seat against Weinstein. And we're going to talk a lot about Brian's history, what he does, and what his ideas of future. And I read up so much about you, Brian, and I'm going to tell people how I know you in about 3 minutes, not you, how I know your family and how wonderful they were. And we're going to do... The city is in trouble. And I know a lot of you people on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook around the country don't understand what we're going through. You're right, COVID is over. You're right, they lifted the restrictions. But here is a lawyer that I'm going to have an argument with about law, about how they're coming after us and why and how to protect us. And I just want you to know, I know that the people are not yet on the air from the radio show, but do you know that TikTok now in, Minnesota has been outlawed because they could be is it Minnesota? I'm not even sure where it is. It is Montana. Montana became the first state to outlaw TikTok. How could you do that on the Fourth Amendment? But I'm going to speak to the lawyer about that in a minute. I'm going to give a shout out quickly to my friend Ellie, Sergeant Peter, Mira Nava, and Layla. And I got to do this. I know you're a lawyer, but Ezra Levy, who was my co-host, he's not now. I got to make a quick ad for the boy. So I hope the producer does that. We have 2 minutes left. Ezra Levy, Esquire, specializing in all criminal matters, like you, right? But I'm not using Ezra anymore. I'm going to use you. Because Ezra screams at me all the time. I know you like me. Weapons possessions, drug offenses, domestic violence, theft offenses, assaults, 917-755-1187, 917-755-1187, or you can email him at Ezra Levy Law Firm at gmail.com. Criminal and family court, orders of protection or defense. You can see the number under me, not you people on Instagram, but YouTube and Facebook. 917-755-1187. You can call into the show, everybody, on this particular number at 646-974-1581, 974-1581, 646-974-1581. By the way, Brian, you also do family court and criminal and drugs and guns and all that stuff?
So I do criminal, but I do mostly personal injury, which is car accidents, slip and falls, trip and falls, medical malpractice.
You're going to talk into that microphone.
Yes.
They see you in your camera. You don't have to look at me. I'm a little chubby. You know what I mean? You're good looking. By the way, we have to get this boy married. That's another one of my problems. I'll deal with that. But that's good. What is your phone number? How do we reach you?
So you can reach me at 212-GUSTMAN. That's 212-GUSTMAN.
I saw your logo. If you're in a fuss, call the Gus.
In a fuss, call the Gus.
I like that. You are great. That was very. I was laughing when I saw it. Not that it was funny, but I mean it's funny, but it was like real cute, real eye-catching. We want to welcome all our listeners from WSNR 620 AM. Welcome to the Just Enough Heshy Show. We already started 5 minutes, and I'm going to introduce you to. Everybody say hello. Brian, you say hello. Brian Gustman, my co-host tonight.
Hello, everyone.
And 1640 WJPR, welcome to the show. And all the listeners at WVIP 93.5 FM. And if you want to listen in on your telephone, you dial 641-793-0382, 641-793-0382. Welcome to the Just Enough Heshy Show. We are going to start the show, and I do a quick joke and quote. And as I told my friend Brian before the show, he doesn't have to laugh at it, but I laugh at it. And I made these quotes for you today. Life is really simple, but we insist on making it complicated. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. And I want you to know, when I wrote this myself, I slept and dreamt that life was a joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy. And the reason I say this is because I know you're a good man, and you do a lot of good for the community, and so many people you help. And people think that personal injury is a problem. People get injured. People sued me too when they fell down. And it's a serious thing, and you have to get them compensated within reason. And plus you do criminal law as well, I heard. Yes. So if I am arrested, you'll come get me.
I got you.
That's your mayor. It's your mayor, not mine. But even though you're Republican, I'm going to tell all you people on the radio, and I'm going to reintroduce. Brian is going to be running next year for the Assembly of the 41st District. It's a Weinstein seat, and I want to talk to you about that in a minute. But I'm going to quickly tell you guys a joke, and we're going to get on to the show. And here's my joke, and you're not going to like this one, Brian, but I don't care. When I was 15 years old, me and my two very mischievous friends, Chaim and Moti, we were sitting on a park bench. And an old man walks by, and Chaim says, "Sir," and he winked at us, "I bet I can guess your age." And the old man pauses and skeptically looks at us. "Guess my age? That's like impossible." And Chaim says, "Come on, we'll show you." And then Mati says, "Okay." I mean, the old man says, "Okay." And Mati, the second friend, says, "First, we need to look up your nose." The man said, he was like looking at us, but he said, "Why not?" He thought it was good, but he was embarrassed by the notion. But he says, "Really, you think they can guess my age by looking up my nose?" So the old man let us look up his nose. Then it was my turn. I said, "Listen, you got to put one finger in your ear, and you got to say the Pledge of Allegiance out loud." And the man, thought it was stupid, but he put his finger in the air and he started saying the Pledge of Allegiance out loud. And then after it was over, people were watching this, seeing an old man that we were making crazy. And all of a sudden, we all got together in a circle, me and the two friends. And my friend Chaim gets up and tells him, "You're 87 years old." And the man says, "Oh my God, you're right. How did you know that? I mean, it's not possible. Is it these things you made me do?" And Chaim says, "No, I was at your birthday party yesterday." I thought that was great. Thank you. Finally, somebody laughed. Most of my guests don't laugh. So I have one more little joke, and it's always about Linda. I always say a joke about Linda. So I got to say, Linda's my wife of 32 years who tortures me. What? God bless you. She makes me miserable. You got to talk in that microphone when you say God bless you. She's going to be happy when you said that. But when I brought Linda home, and when you're going to bring home your girl for the first time to your mother, right? Good. She's not going to be happy. But anyways, my mother was sitting there and talking to Linda, and she took out the family photo album, and she started showing them pictures of when we were kids. And as she went through the pictures, Linda asked my mother, he says, I come from a big family, 5 brothers, 1 sister. And Linda was looking at the picture. She says, "Oh my gosh, you dressed them all alike." She says, "Yeah, I dressed them all alike, so right down to the baby, so we wouldn't lose any of them." And then she said to Lindy, says, "When the other 2 came along, I continued to dress them all alike, so I wouldn't get any additional ones." Anyways, Brian, I want to talk to you about you. By the way, Brian's grandfather used to have a store across the street from my travel agency called Cheese Deluxe. I used to go in there all the time. He used to scream at me, though, man. But your grandmother was the wonderful, and he used to sell me those pickles for 25 cents in a barrel. I don't know if you remember. You're younger than me.
I remember.
And he was so fresh. Everything was fresh, from the lox to the cream cheese, and the way they made the sandwiches for you. I was like, I can't believe it. Really, we're family, because I used to go in there all the time. I must have seen you as a kid. I must have bumped into you.
Probably.
But they were a wonderful family. Brian, we're going to get down to business. You're running for assembly. Are you stupid? I mean, really, do you know what I mean, I don't want to, I didn't mean to call you stupid, but they torture me now. They make prank phone calls. I know they're all warning me now, when you get into office, you're going to be like them, which I'm not. For 40 years, I'm the same, and I keep pitching it to my audience. I keep pitching it to all the people in my friend. But Brian, I mean, are you ready? I know you're a lawyer. I know you get hell all the time from the opposition, but are you ready? Are you really ready for us to hurt you? Are you really ready to get into that assembly and stand up and say, I'm tired of all these stupid new laws and legislations? Because one of them in your assembly, they want to stop all the leasing companies, the little guys, because the big guys don't let them. And somebody's allowing that to happen. The assembly started to pass a law, and you better look into that A146, that's going to lock us up if there's a healthcare problem again. They can take us and put us in the center. You know, they did not stop the governor from locking down the city and state and torturing us. You guys had that power. Not you guys, you will. By the way, the seat that you want belongs to a Miss Weinstein. I think she's there for like 40 years with no competition.
No competition, and her father had the seat before her for 30 years.
And she's done nothing, really. She's done nothing. I mean, you're going to beat her. You're going to beat her, but I'm hoping that she doesn't even run, and you just stand there, and I'm hoping they don't do what they did to me, the Republican Party, by allowing a Democrat to run on my ticket. But my question for you is, are you ready? I mean, I know you know the laws, and like I was telling you in Montana, here's a law for you. Is it legal for the government to shut down TikTok, even though they're a spy agency, not and give people fines or fines based on the First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, right there alone? I don't have to go with any more amendments.
Well, so the thing is we do have freedom of speech. That's the First Amendment of the Constitution, right, Heshy?
Right.
And for freedom of speech, Americans think that they can talk about anything they want.
I thought I could.
And say anything you want.
I thought I could.
And that is a right that we do have.
Okay.
But there's one exception that people have to understand. And the exception is if it causes incitement. So what we learn in law school.
What do you mean incitement?
Incitement.
So I can drive by a police officer and pick up my finger. It incites the police officer. That's bad. I pick up my finger. I incite you, or is it a riot?
Good question. So the example you learn while you're in law school is saying in a movie theater that the movie theater is burning down, but there is no fire. That's causing an incitement. And that, according to the case law and to the Constitution and to the years of judicial process, that is not considered protected speech.
But TikTok is not a problem. I mean, TikTok doesn't cause a riot, because then you can go after Facebook and Twitter and Google and all of those people, because every time I post something, it can cause a riot.
I think with TikTok, I don't think it's more about the incitement. I think it's more of a political agenda. Political agenda being against China, because China is controlling TikTok. Again,
America allows anybody to say what you want. You can go with all the Muslims across all the Muslim imams, or you can say or the donations or the charities. Again, America allows us to say what we want, when we want, how we want to post it. It should not be allowed. And if I came to you, would you protect my right to post on TikTok, or are you against TikTok?
I would be there for your right to say whatever you want, to whoever you want, however you want. Because that's America. That's the freedom
and that is
we
Brian,
have.
And that's Brian Gustman running for office. Brian, I want to ask you a question. It's a very hot topic right now, and this is going to be one of your problems.
Yeah.
The migrants.
Yes.
Now, we know the migrants are no good, but you know they're throwing homeless people out of our shelters. They're not throwing them out. They're not really taking them back in, because the migrants are getting, the city is paying more money to the homeless shelters for the migrants than for the homeless people.
Yes.
And as it is, they're getting a lot of money for the homeless people. But they're getting a lot of money for that. And now with Title 42, which you better explain to us, they're allowing everybody now into the country. Now, here's my problem. Forget that you're letting them into the country, because the problem is, you know, the Texas governor was sending them to New York because the mayor was saying, well, you can't throw them out. Now the mayor is overloaded and he can't handle it. My question to you is, you know that the mayor is putting them up in our public schools?
Yes.
We got to stop that.
In gymnasiums.
While the school is in session.
While the kids are there.
And How can we stop this? I mean, the mayor gets away with doing whatever he wants. I mean, I'm going to try to stop that in city council, but how do we stop them from coming in? The state, I mean, your governor Hochul is going to expedite working papers for the immigrants. She can't do that. She can't keep giving money for abortion. She can't keep going. People in this state need it. We have 80,000 or 70,000 homeless people. We're now going to throw them on the street, and she's giving money for people in other states for abortions, people to come in from other countries, which is okay, but you got to take care of our people first.
Yes, and that's the biggest problem I think America has right now. We're not thinking about ourselves. We're not thinking about our own people, our own constituents, and our needs. We're thinking about everybody else.
And you know, the money is just being wasted. I mean, the assembly stands up and talks about stupid legislation, but you're going to run as a Republican.
Yes.
So there's not a majority, there's a super majority.
There's a super majority, but the Republicans in the assembly are still a minority.
And are you going to be able to stand up and make change or make peace or make friends over there?
My job is going to be to do whatever it has to take and whatever I have to do to bring both sides to the table and get things done, because nothing is getting done. I speak to people who work in the assembly, and they tell me it's a joke what's going on. It has to stop.
Now, you're well-versed. If I'm correct, you have a doctorate in law, correct?
Yes, I have a Juris Doctorate.
A Juris Doctorate. So you basically are smart enough not only to help people negotiate, but maybe you will be able to bring both sides to the table.
That's what we have to do, because this is has not been happening for who knows how long. And who knows what road we're going to go down if it doesn't stop.
You grew up in the yeshiva education.
Yes.
Okay, I mean, because according to Yafet and so many other people, us yeshiva boys who graduated college were idiots. Maybe me, but here's a doctor. Okay, he has a doctorate. So I don't know.
From Yeshiva University.
From Yeshiva University. Here's a kid that grew up in my neighborhood. Where did you grow up, by the way? Where were you?
I grew up in Trump Village.
Trump Village.
Trump Village.
Right here, so you're a Brooklyn boy.
I'm a Brooklyn boy.
So you grew up, you went through this yeshiva system, you went to YU, you became a lawyer, and they're saying that we need to change the yeshiva system we're below. But if I'm correct, 65% of the public school kids are failing.
I don't think we need to change anything with the yeshiva education.
And they shouldn't be allowed even to I mean, they can give us some kind of books and stuff, but they have no right to change our curriculum or force us into any kind of a curriculum. Is that correct?
They should not, and they should not
again,
be allowed to do that.
The city does not really control the public schools. It's the state, even though they gave it to us. And that is, but you know, over and over again, the Fed and so many other people are getting involved and suing us, and nobody's fighting back. We need somebody, a champion, to fight for us. Yeah. And I hope you believe that our education is so important, not only to us, not only to the yeshivas, but the public schools. You got to find a way to fix it. I mean, you're spending so much billions. It's not being fixed. I mean, those teachers are not taking courses again. They should all be taking courses every year. They should always, like us, as expediters or lawyers, we have to take courses or update our views. These teachers are not doing that. There are some very good teachers, don't get me wrong. I've met so many. But we should force all of them to do that. My next question to you is I'm going to get to COVID-19, but tell me about COVID. I mean, people laugh at me. I took the vaccine. I had to. I wanted to be out there, even though I believed it wouldn't touch me, and I don't believe it helped at all. Do you think COVID was fake? Do you think they abused their rights? A lawyer, did they go above the Constitution by locking us down and arresting us and not letting us go in the street?
You know, I think they definitely overstepped their boundaries. I also had to get the vaccine because if not, I wouldn't have been allowed in the courthouse.
Right.
So how would I have done my job?
And you were against it, and you didn't even need it.
No. And in fact, I got sick with COVID after I took the first shot. So I still wonder to this day, what did they give me?
I also wasn't feeling well, but I wouldn't let anybody know, and I went on my way because, you know, I don't have time to take days off. And I felt a little weaker, but I didn't get coughing or whatever, heart spasms. But yeah, I was against COVID from day one. I didn't wear the masks. I kept the synagogues open. I fought, and as you know, I cut the locks on the parks. Yep. But I believe COVID was fake. I really believe it. I mean, every day as it comes by, I really believe there's an issue with COVID, that somehow they were willing to control us. But my question is it's not even everything that they overstepped their bounds. The governor, one guy, not the assembly, not the state, not the city council, one guy was able to tell us what to do and jump. Isn't that illegal, those emergency powers?
They were definitely illegal. And the Assembly and the Senate should have stopped it when he was trying to do all
And why
this.
didn't they?
I have no idea. I wish I knew, but if I get into the Assembly, I will make sure that never happens again.
Thank you, Brian. That is what I wanted to hear. People get angry at me, Brian, because I'm against guns. I'm not against the Second Amendment. Don't get me wrong. It's very important that you have a right to have a gun to protect yourself. I don't want one in my house because I think that anything can happen. But there's no gun control. There's no, they just arrested 25 gang members. I met District Attorney Gonzalez at an event last week. And he gets up, he says, crime is down by 25%. I said, it's not possible, District Attorney. You know that it's not down, it's up. He says, in your community, it's down. Of course, in my community, it's down. But there was another shooting in Texas. There's another shooting in Florida. Shootings in New York. Forget the 2,000 shootings and 400 murders in New York City. I know you're a lawyer, so you have to worry about the Second Amendment.
Right.
But what are you going to do about this gun violence? Gang members are walking around, shooting us, killing us. There's even a rapper that was arrested yesterday, something chef, or I forgot his name. I printed it out. A guy by the name of where is he? Rapper Chef G.
Chef G.
Chef G. He was among the gang members because he took his millions of dollars and supported these two gangs and joined them together.
Yes.
So people want gang violence. People want shootings. I mean, how do we have gun? How can we stop gun control? How could we gun control? Now we have no right to take away from the good people because my friend Christopher Messi screams at me. No, I walk around with a gun. Florida has a new law now that you don't even have to register.
Right.
So you can you do that in New York? Are you crazy?
No, you can't. New York doesn't allow that. You have to register a gun. You
I
gotta
got
get a
that,
permit.
but how come Florida did it and we can't?
It's all because of who the governor is, and it's all because of the way that their politics run.
What's your opinion on gun control?
My opinion on gun control is everybody has a right to own a gun. And if you want to own a gun, you can own a gun. But there has to be certain rules. You can't be a felon. You shouldn't
What do
have
you mean
any
a felon?
criminal history.
You know what a felon is? Sometimes a felon is something stupid
Yes.
and then they take away your right. Even a misdemeanor, I heard you can't have, right?
It depends. It depends on
If a
on the
lawyer does
situation.
something bad and he submits something and he goes to jail or he makes a deal, he's a felon, so he can
Right.
never have a gun because of that?
So I think what we need to do is we need to start a committee. And this, again, starts from the Assembly, the Senate, the governor. A gun control unit that reviews every single petition.
But it takes forever with these people. Everything that the red tape, they have committees. They have, in the assembly, you put on like 10 committees. In the city council, will put on 7 different committees. And these committees take a year to review stuff. And the billions of dollars, by the time they finish reviewing it, sometimes their term is up and then the next committee has to re-review it. And it doesn't make sense. I mean, we got to cut red tape. We got to move things along. Right. And I would like to, most importantly, I'd like to ask you when you're in the assembly, and I'm going to be in city council, I want to put in a bill that will allow us to recall governor and mayor. New York doesn't have that. Florida has that, I think, and California for sure has it. We saw that. I would like you to do that, that if we get this crazy Governor Cuomo who thinks that's what gossip is, he might even run again. I don't want him to be allowed. And if he wins, we should be allowed to recall it somehow because he's crazy. Do you agree with that idea, or is that a waste of our time?
Well, I agree with it 100% because our entire government is based on a checks and balances system. So how come the federal government can have a checks and balances system, but the state of New York can't? Time for change.
Time for change.
Time for change.
Can I go on the national level for a minute? What do you think of Mr. Biden?
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan.
That's not a good enough answer. I mean, you see what the country's been going through.
Terrible.
Prices are up. When they come down to drop, it's still over $3.50 a gallon of gas. And now he's buying oil, selling oil. They made a profit. Listen to me. We're not interested in for you to do that. We want you to handle our budget. He's fighting over the debt ceiling. What do you think about that?
I think we need to definitely figure out what's going on with the country's debt, because if we keep it going and it keeps getting higher, then a carton of cream cheese that cost me now $5 is going to be $10 in about 2 years.
A carton of eggs, which has doubled and tripled in price as well.
Eggs, milk, bread. Food is expensive.
But if they close down the government, people will just, if we don't pay our bills, we're dead.
Right. But we have to also start doing exactly what also Donald Trump said we need to do, which is collect the debts from the countries that owe us. Why are we paying and not collecting?
Right.
That's not the American way.
We just threw away, what was it now, like $200 billion on Ukraine when there was no war. And it just keeps going and going with craziness in this country that somebody's getting paid. I mean, I know $200 billion for us is a lot of money, but for them, they think it's a joke. And these guys are not businessmen. I mean, Joe Biden never ran a business in his life. And he has no right to be running budgets even though he has experts around him. Half of those people in the Congress and the Senate don't even know what a budget is. I mean, they know how to discuss budgets, but they don't belong there in the Assembly. By the way, we have a $200 and something billion budget. I hope you're going to be involved and scream and holler on those budgets and we'll learn to cut some of them. Save us something.
Save us, and also, why are we not putting it toward the citizens? Healthcare. Anything that can help the people who are paying the taxes. Heshy, I'm paying taxes. You have no idea.
I know.
and you know what I'm getting for it? I'm getting bupkis.
Right.
Nothing.
Right. I mean, by the time the end of the year comes now, I can barely put away any money, let alone go on a vacation. Right. And I had to save a whole year and hide every dollar to go on that vacation. And it was like, we were like after 3 years. So I understand what it's like that the taxes are being raised during COVID. During COVID, they raised it. I keep telling everybody about that. During COVID. According to D.A. Gonzalez and Mayor Adams, crime is down. Here we go, Mr. Lawyer. Is crime down? Are we crazy? I mean, getting robbed, raped every single day on the bus. And I want you to comment on the second part of this question, that Marine that got arrested for the Neely case. Got to tell me if it's good or bad, if he's right or wrong. I know you defend him, but in your personal heart, did the guy do wrong?
So let's answer the first part of the question, right? So the first part of the question, basically, crime is down. So I actually was an intern at the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office in my first year of law school.
Wow.
And that was when Charles Hines was the district attorney.
I didn't like him either, but go ahead.
And Eric Gonzalez was, I believe he was a bureau chief at the time when Charles Hines was in office. And crime is not down. And you want to know how I know crime is not down, Heshy?
Crime is not down, everybody. Just pay attention. Here is a lawyer and a former district attorney. Wow.
Well, it wasn't a district attorney. It was just an intern.
It makes no difference. You saw it from the inside.
Yes.
Okay.
I worked on a lot of stuff that was a little shaky, too. Let me be honest with you. That needs change. So this Monday, I went to the Bronx.
Do you have the power in the assembly to do anything about that?
So the assembly, you don't have really any power over the city district attorneys, but you can still get on the judicial committee and you can try to do some stuff. It's possible.
But isn't there like district attorneys for the state?
So that's the attorney general, who's Letitia James, who my old partner Michael Henry ran against. Unfortunately, he lost only because the city voted mostly for her. But she's the one who we would have to press, and she would then have to press the district attorneys to do something.
Okay.
So I'll tell you a personal story that just happened to me on Monday. Okay. I went to the court in the Bronx, and I was going back. I got out at about 11 o'clock. I went on the train to take it back to my office in downtown Manhattan. And there's a guy who's standing there walking on the platform with a cane, walking around, bumping into everybody. What does he do? Bumps into me. Of course, what can I do? I'm in a suit. I'm not going to cause any trouble because I'll be the one who gets arrested.
Correct.
There's no crime is not down. Crime is up, and it needs to be taken care of, because if we don't take care of it now and our elected officials don't do anything about it now, it's only going to get worse.
What do you think about cashless bail?
Cashless bail?
Now, you know you're a defense lawyer, and you like it.
So cashless bail, I think, is good for certain instances, but not for everyone. Look at what happened with all these people who were let out with cashless bail, killed people.
Yeah.
Continued to rob, stole from stores, stole vehicles. It's not the way to do it.
So again, I know you want to set up a committee, and I agree with you on that.
Yes.
That each time that a judge has to decide it, she should have. I mean, I don't know how it should work, but we should come up with a better idea on how to decide on the cashless bail items.
I think it's very simple. The judge needs to look at the criminal history. And if there is 5 arrests, you don't let the person back out on the street.
But not 5 stupid arrests,
No,
like for
violent.
jumping a turn.
Violent.
Very good.
Violent
I would
arrests.
say 2 violent or 1 violent already shouldn't be allowed.
Agreed.
And I know domestic abuse. I know you defend people, but people do lose their temper.
Yes.
And there's never an excuse to hit your wife or your husband. I got that.
Never.
But again, if it happens, it should be at least considered that some of us get angry. And and we have to speak to the wife to go away or leave him alone, or he needs some kind of treatment. If he doesn't take the treatment, then you're right. He should be punished as if that doesn't go away.
Not only that, but I think what the police need to do is when they're called for a domestic violence call, they need to gather more evidence. They need to know what's the totality of the circumstances.
Right. Not just an arrest and take him away.
Not just he hit me, she hit me.
Right.
But what happened before that? What did you do before that caused this to occur?
What do you think about the homeless issue? I've come up with ideas on how to create, there's over $1 billion that was given to Department of Homeless Services, which they're not using properly. They're just throwing it away on hotels and stupid shelters. I want to create a shelter that is like an adults residential center, where the people will want to come back and stay there. Will want programs, and the money's out there, but it's not being controlled properly.
Right.
And really, homelessness is not so much of a city problem, but the state throws us this money with the government. How do we fix this? Do we have ideas? Will you work with your local politicians, or will you? I don't know.
We have to work with the local politicians, and what a lot of people don't understand with homeless people is that it's also a mental health issue.
And
we need to set up, like you said, programs to help them get better, to help them get on their feet, to help them overcome the homelessness.
But Mrs. de Blasio did a research program for $1.5 billion, and forget the money disappeared. It did nothing. Yeah. If she couldn't do it, isn't she that great that she was able to do it? How are you and I going to solve it?
I'm going to tell you the difference between me and Mr. de Blasio. You know what that is?
Please.
I'm not going to put the money in my pocket. I'm going to give it to the people, and I'm going to make sure it's used to the right programs because it's for the people, not for her.
I agree. You're on the game, and I like that so much. Our city, and I love the garbage man, Department of Sanitation.
Yes, I have a lot of friends who work in the sanitation.
They always stop me. They take a picture of me. They always say hello, Heshy, and wonderful. But again, they work for the mayor.
Yes.
And when the mayor tells them not to shovel the snow today or we want to save money, it's unacceptable. And a lot of the chiefs, even though I love the garbage men, a lot of those chiefs up there don't belong there. A lot of commissioners in the Department of Buildings, a lot of commissioners, and there's so many different units don't have the field experience. Do you believe a person like in the building department who doesn't have 5 years experience like the rest of us, or a sanitation chief that didn't go collect garbage when he was younger or work in the garbage industry, do they have a right to become commissioners?
Do they have a right? Yes. But should they be? No. Beautiful. They need to have the experience. They need to show their time, put in their time. You can't just put somebody in a position just because they know someone. Those days are not or have to be over.
Well, they're not over.
Exactly.
You know they're not over.
And that's where we need to bring the change.
The Mayor Adams is now putting, and we're going to get to this. This is where I wanted to start the show. Mayor Adams, guys, you got to hear this. He's taking the migrants, and we spoke about this a moment. Yeah. He's putting them in schools during the day. We can't stop him. Why can't we stop him? I mean, how can he do this? I mean, how can he just do whatever he wants without permission of the city council? Is that legally allowed? I mean, and putting him and endangering our kids, even though they're all good. All, 40,000? We have 80,000 homeless people in New York City, and we have 40,000 new migrants coming into the city. Now, you have to explain this to me. You're telling me all the migrants are good?
Listen, I'm sure they're not all good. They're not all good.
By the way, before we get to that, you never answered part 2 of the question. Is the Marine guilty? Should we
Marine.
have arrested the Marine? I mean, how would you defend him?
So I would defend him by saying that what he did was for the public good. What he did was also self-defense.
But he wasn't, why self-defense? He's strong enough to push the guy away.
Right.
He wasn't trained into holding people back like the police. So if he's not trained, maybe he should have used his brain and run like a little girl.
Right. So the rule in New York, the law is, unlike Florida, which is stand your ground. We know that from Trayvon Martin, right? But in New York is you can only use reasonable force, right? So I think he used reasonable force to bring him down and to restrain him. The problem was his Marine skills came in a little too much, and he put him in too tight of a hole.
So how could they arrest him? He didn't do it on purpose. He didn't have premeditated, what's it called again?
Premeditation.
So he didn't have all of that.
Intent.
And they still,
No intent.
and they know the circumstance that we still made him arrest him. I mean, what are we doing? Wasting the time? Do you think a jury would convict him?
I hope a jury does not convict him, to be honest with you. Because they need to look at the entire situation. He was causing trouble, bothering riders, just like the guy who bumped into me on Monday on the platform.
And he has a history.
And
all of a sudden, the family popped up and said, "Oh, look what we did to him." But they left him on the street.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, you're worried about him.
And you know who really failed this guy who passed away, Heshy? The politicians. You want to know why? Because they didn't put the money to the programs to help the people with mental health issues. And that's who's to blame. That's really the people who's to blame.
I love you. I mean, we've got to make this change. We've got to continue our fight. Now, when you get into office, so I want to go back to the migrant thing now. What do we do? I mean, as a lawyer, can we fight legally? I mean, so far he's putting them in there, and he's putting them in during the day. When one of our children get raped or killed, what's going to happen then?
That's when they're going to finally wake up and
so
say,
we need somebody to get killed for us to change our mind.
Unfortunately, that's what it's become, Heshy. But what needs to happen is the city council needs to step up.
City council.
City council.
And they're not stepping up.
People like Kalman Yeager.
Which he's keeping his mouth shut completely on this. You have one guy, Avi Kagan, which I'm not too friendly with. He all of a sudden shows up over there at a school event, a protest. But we have 51 council members. How come we don't have 51 council members screaming?
I don't know. And it's sad that they're not trying to take the initiative and help their constituents, because their constituents are going to the schools protesting. They don't want this for their kids. But where are the politicians? Where are they? They're nowhere to be found.
Your mayor, Eric Adams, tells the outraged parents to deal with it, and they're going to live in the gyms of the school, and too bad on you. And that's too much power for a mayor.
Yes.
Too much power.
Too much. And a lawyer needs to step up and file an injunction on this to stop him from doing this to the schools and putting the kids at risk and danger.
I want to go on the national level. We have about another 15 minutes. My question to you is Trump. We already spoke about Biden, that you and I don't like him.
Right.
Got that. I'm grabbing your hand because I think you're handsome. Not because I'm grabbing you. I love you. He's a good-looking guy, everybody. Here he is. Girls, please call. Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you, all can call into the show. I have to get the number of the show. What is the number of the show? I had it written down before. 646-974-1581. Here is my guy. By the way, my nephew, one of my 121 nephews, Dovie Tischler, got engaged tonight. I couldn't make the engagement party to Abigail. So mazel tov to Dovie and Abigail. I hope you hear me, and if not, somebody should tell him that you're good. Everybody calls me crazy. Trump was president of the United States. I think he did a good job. I think at the end he dropped the ball with COVID. Number one, can he beat Biden? Two, do you want him back, or do we want DeSantis?
I think he can beat Biden. I think we need him to come back.
And let DeSantis wait.
Let DeSantis run as his VP. Why can't they run together?
DeSantis is not going to do VP stuff. You know that. He wants to be president.
I understand, but sometimes to make it better and to help the country, you got to take a step under.
And you know that DeSantis, the most of a VP could be is 4 years, because Trump can't run again after that.
Correct.
So DeSantis would get the proper training, would get the exposure, and here is the chance of a possibility of saying, look, you did the job right or you didn't do the job right. I agree. Very smart.
Yeah.
Very smart.
It's a it's a very easy way for both of them to win the election and for both of them to do what needs to be done to help this country.
On the Democratic side, there is I think his name is Robert Kennedy. I don't remember. Some guy.
Robert Kennedy Jr.?
Robert Kennedy Jr. He's running now for president against Biden.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
I know that he announced he's running. Biden's not going to debate him. I mean, do we think that any competition to Biden is a joke, or Biden's got it for sure, or maybe we have a chance, maybe he won't even get the nomination?
So I don't know what's going to happen with the primary for the Democratic Party. I think Biden's still going to wind up winning, but I think that's the best thing that could happen. You know why?
Why?
Because then people are going to vote for Trump because Biden
Will
is doing
they?
a terrible job.
I mean, we all say that the election was stolen. Was the election stolen?
No,
So it wasn't stolen.
I don't think it was stolen.
So then he did beat Trump badly. So maybe those same people will come out again.
I think the only reason he beat Trump the first time was because of Trump's slightly error on handling the COVID situation.
I keep saying that.
If he did not have any errors with the COVID situation, if he would have shut it down a little bit earlier, we wouldn't have been in that situation, and he would have definitely won that election in 2020. But Biden, I think he did win the election, but I think the people, and I've spoken to Biden voters who have voted for Biden initially, they either are not going to vote for him or they're not going to vote at all.
Wow. Okay. I really don't like Biden. I don't like the way he's running the country. I don't like the way and I know you're going to say, well, the war in Ukraine. Tell me about what you think. I mean, that's blowing $200 billion to date. This is going to keep going on. I mean, under Trump, I believe there would have been no war.
Right.
I believe under Trump, he would have made North Korea better. Now North Korea is freaking out again. I don't see the world getting better under Biden. I mean, I don't see massive wars going all over. But again, this war with Russia and Ukraine is so stupid. It does hurt our markets. It does hurt our growth. It has stagnated us for the last year. I really like Trump. And I believe that this war has to end. I know we can't do anything about it in City Council, but, I was reading that the City Council is now getting involved with the Palestine-Israeli conflict. And Assembly members have comments on it too. I mean, we're Jewish people. I'm very pro-Israel, don't get me wrong. But as a politician, it's not our right to inside the politics to be involved or comment or bring up anything on foreign affairs because that's not our job.
Correct. Foreign affairs is actually the president's job.
But when this comes up
it's his job.
But when this comes up in the assembly and the council and they all start talking about it, are you going to shut it down? You can say, hey, guys, I know you 300 or 200 members are doing it, but it's not here. It's a waste of my time. Like in my office, sometimes we start doing other stuff. I say, wait till we have a office lunch, and then you could talk about anything. But right now, we have to stick to the program of what we're doing on. I do have constituent services in my office that we do for free for the local public. But again, that is something separate. When it's business, and the assembly has to be all business.
Right. And if that happens, we have to shut it down and say, listen, everyone, we're here for our constituents. We need to focus on that.
What do you think about lobbyists? Shouldn't you throw them all out? How come lobbyists are able to run around? There's a Jewish guy as a Friedlander. I like him. But he runs around Washington. He gets into the White House. He hangs out with the assemblymen and the councilmen and other people in the White House and the assembly. He shouldn't be even allowed to talk to a politician.
Right. So, I mean, my opinion with lobbyists is they should be allowed to talk to politicians because even when I was part of New York State Trial Lawyers Association, we would go up to Albany to try to lobby for certain, criteria, certain policies, raise certain things, which hopefully when I get into the assembly, I'll be able to do that. I think they should be allowed in the building, but the problem is not that they're allowed to be in the building and talk. The dirty play. That needs to stop.
Explain that.
The dirty play, the campaign funding, the financing, that has to stop. These politicians cannot be influenced by who's going to give them the biggest amount for their campaign next year. It has to stop. And if it doesn't, we're going to wind up going down a deep, horrible downward spiral.
I can't wait for you to get elected, and I really you are just on the you're on your ball all the way. And what else do I want to ask you about? There's going to be explain to us what the Title 42 restrictions that they ended. Now I understand. Does that mean the gates are open, the migrants come in, no problem, or?
So Trump is the one who signed in Title 42 to law, which stopped the migrants from coming in, from them to have to go through the legal process.
But we didn't stop them. You see they're coming in without problems.
Illegally.
No, but they're busting them into New York City.
Well, that's because Title 42 ended.
Oh, it did end?
Yes.
I thought it just ended now.
Biden did not renew it. That's when the migrants came in by the boatload. That's why now we have this problem in New York. Where are we putting these migrants? In the schools, with the children. What has to happen is this. It's very simple. You want to become an American citizen? No problem. That's the American dream. My grandparents, they came here. They did it for the American dream. But what did they have to do to get there? They had to go through the process.
It was a long time ago. It was a different process. Today, with the red tape, they torture them. I see what they do to... Now, I don't agree that we can let immigrants in left and right. But the process takes 10 years.
So let's change the process. What about during the Civil War?
Right. As you came off the boat, you became a citizen on the spot, but you had to serve in the army.
Correct. Just like African Americans, black people then. In order for them to become free men, some of them, they would have to serve in the army.
Right.
Show your dedication
1 year in
to
the
the
army.
country.
1 year in the army, and you were free.
That's it. If you want to live in this country, you want to love this country, you want to work in this
but
country.
Not every migrant is strong enough to join the army or capable.
Okay, we have to figure out a way then for them. Then those are the people who have to go the longer route, the 5 years. Or if they have a connection with a residency card from their family members. But if you are a young person and you're able and you're sound and you're physically capable, you should have to serve for this country.
And this way your family could join you in that. So again, we have to talk about this. We have to, even though we can't control the federal government, but we can control them from coming into our city.
Correct.
And we can control them
in our state.
In our state, yeah. Elon Musk recently had an interview. You know who he is, the multi-billionaire. Tesla. And I think SpaceX or whatever it is.
SpaceX.
So they were interviewing him, and he says that, and I want to give you a quote of his, which he says that he's allowed to say anything, and if there are consequences of losing money, so be it. He can say that. He's a billionaire. You and I can say that. Again, I want to get back to the beginning of the show of freedom of speech.
Right.
I'm allowed to say anything I want.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I hear noise in my background from that control room. Hello, control room. I hear noise. But my question to you is that, again, I should be allowed to say anything. I should be allowed to do anything. And the Constitution, even though the Assembly has figured out ways to go around our Constitution with some of your crazy laws, you have to stop that. We have to stop those laws. We have to stop the future of being anything but. And I hope when you get in there, it's going to be very important.
We have to make it make sense, Heshy. That's the key.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you are just. I just love you. I think that you have been on your game, and now I want to ask you a question. I hear noise. You must be watching a video. My producer is watching a video. I want to introduce you to a caller by the name of Lenny. Do we have Lenny on the air, by the way? Producer Lenny, are you on the air? I guess not. Lenny was an ex-cop, a retired police officer, and he's got a lot to say.
Okay.
Producer, is Lenny on the phone? Can you tell us if he's here? Is not, or is he gone? I want you guys to hear Lenny. I want you now to tell me. We spoke about you. I asked you some quick questions. I want to know your plan. What is your vision when you get in there? What is your? I mean, when I get in there, I know that I'm going to be fighting for postpartum depression. I'm going to be fighting for education and more safety protections. You people in the assembly, or you, whatever, your assembly has put on cameras with the Senate all over the city. Those cameras don't belong here, okay? But the city now has to do what the state gave us 50% goes to the contractors, 25% to the state. City's making nothing, and we're giving in all the money. They're ticketing us, and it's illegal. Are the cameras, they're only supposed to be made for protection and only at night. Are the cameras illegal all over town? And legal, I'm looking at the legal matter. I want those cameras stopped once and for all. At least I'm going to fight to get rid of all of them. Can I do it?
So what's going on is the politicians are changing the rules as they go. So originally how it started was cameras by schools only.
Schools and even the synagogues, I agree.
And only
and parks
during school hours. Then all of a sudden, the city has a deficit. The state has a deficit. Why, I don't understand, because I don't know where my tax money is going.
Right.
But now they said, okay, you know what? We need money, so we're going to now add more cameras. We're going to put them everywhere. And not only schools are going to be 9 to 4, but it's going to be 24 hours.
Aren't the cameras illegal in Long Island? I heard they stopped them. They figured out a way that it's illegal.
So there's no real decision on the books yet, whether they're legal or illegal. And that's the problem. It has to be figured out.
Can you stop it for us in the Senate? That is one of your jobs.
As the Assembly, I can try to pass a bill to make it more specific.
Just
and more
for schools,
tailored.
parks, for protection, not for the speeding or the red lights. And you know, half of those cameras are no good. We have Lenny on the phone. Lenny, are you on the phone? I guess not. We had him. We lost him.
Yeah, we had
him. But
I heard him.
I know. Me too. I hear Lenny. I know Lenny's big, beautiful voice.
He's ready.
So good. I'm so happy because I want to work with you on that.
Yes.
City and state, that we stop those cameras once and for all. Finally, our show is coming to almost to the end. There's something called congestive pricing. I'm against it. There's no question I'm against it. And the Assembly and the Senate is pushing it through because it's a state thing.
Correct.
Stop it, please.
Stop it. Has to stop.
Is it illegal?
So if they pass it, it's allowed.
But it's not legal. How do you have somebody? You live across the street from me. I cross the street. I have to pay a toll.
So usually the process is you pass a bill, it becomes a law. If you want to fight it in the courts, you fight it as being unconstitutional.
Nobody's fought it
because it's not in law yet. However, once it goes in, then someone can fight it. But this is the whole point.
So we wait to the last minute. If we would just filibuster or stop the thing, we wouldn't have to waste the money and the time to make it into a law.
But this is the whole thing. Why are the politicians not listening to their own constituents who don't want this? They can't afford it. Times are hard as it is. Inflation is through the roof. Prices for properties, food, gas, daily living is up to the sky. And now they're going to have to pay an extra dollar. Well, many dollars, I should say, to go to work. What is this?
Right. And you know they keep raising the tolls.
Yes.
It'll start out at $2, and then it'll be like the Verrazano Bridge.
25.
Right. I remember when it was $1.50 to cross the Verrazano Bridge.
I remember when I was a kid, we used to throw a token.
Right, a quarter.
What happened?
50, I don't know.
Now it's Easy Pass.
Easy Pass, and we don't even know what they're charging us.
And now there's also all the problems with people who don't have the Easy Pass. They're getting all these fines, crazy tolls.
I have Easy Pass, and something happened, and I got a 50. Just today I found out that Linda passed the toll booth, and she got a $51 fine and a $52 fine for a $2 or $4 toll that she went through because their machine didn't read it. That's why I'm trying to tell you about the camera tickets. It makes mistakes, and you're telling me, well, it's only 1 or 2 mistakes. No, but the 1 or 2 mistakes affect us, and it added up into tens of thousands of times, and they can now make a new law and take away your car from you or maybe suspend you and stuff like that.
Suspend your registration.
Suspend your registration license. He's on the phone. Lenny's back. Lenny, you're running out of time. I want to introduce you to Brian. He's running for Assembly of the 41st District. Do you like this man?
I will talk to him.
Thank you, Lenny.
Can you give me 90 seconds? Because the show's almost going to go off.
You got it.
90 seconds.
You got less before it goes off the radio. Go ahead.
Here goes. I read just before I called you. Biden is supposed to be ahead by 7% in the polls. I don't know what alcohol they're drinking, but I want some of that. With the Marine, okay, go after de Blasio's wife because over $1 billion was set aside for the homeless and nobody finds out where this money went to. Scott LeBedo did a thing yesterday in City Hall in regards to our veterans, okay? You're throwing our veterans out of hotels and charging $90 more for the migrants, okay? They want to put them in schools now. You don't know if they're vaccinated. You don't know what kind of germs they're carrying. Adams, he's the one who welcomed these people to New York City. And the last statement I want to make is every September you see in the Daily News and the Post the poor people of New York City getting free school bags, pencils, everything they need for school. You think they're going to have the money this September with all the money going to the migrants? How do we stop this? I ask you. I wish this was the beginning of the show because I want answers.
I love you, Lenny. Thank you so much for calling in again. He's really a friend, and he calls in all the time, and he's an ex-police officer, and he knows about this, and it bothers him about the crime and the waste of money. And here's a man who served our
the New York City Police Department give us numbers on how long it takes the police to respond because there's no police officers now. If you got a car accident or a break-in, you're waiting over an hour and a half for them to respond. Nothing against the cops. There are none. That's why there are no more police officers out there. They're not giving us these numbers. They're giving us BS numbers, how crime is down. Liar, liar, your pants on fire.
Lenny, I love you. Thank you, my friend. Good night, and I'm going to hear from you, and I want to bump into you during the week. And to all my other listeners, our shows come to the end, but I thank you for watching the show. I thank you for joining the show and staying with us. We lost the people on the radio already. They get off at 9:55, but to all my Instagram fans and YouTube and Facebook, Brian, I want you to give us a parting statement. I want you to tell us what you really stand for, not what you're going to do and all that, what you believe in. I mean, you're a guy that's lived here. I mean, the way you explained it to us, your parents, your grandparents, you're here since a kid.
Yes.
You love New York City. You live in Brooklyn, New York. You're going to fight for us.
Right.
Why are you willing to give up your practice, the money, and everything for a stupid job that we're going to make you miserable? And I tried to get that in the beginning of the show. Maybe you need something. Maybe that's why you're running, because you didn't get any of that $1.5 billion mental health thing they ripped us off. So you and I are crazy.
Right. And listen, I love what I do. I love my job. But I'm willing to give it all up because I always want to help people. And that's why I became a lawyer to begin with, to help people. But right now, we're in very bad times. And if nobody steps up to help or to do something, it's only going to get worse. And to all the people listening, what we need to do is we need you to stand up. We need you to make the change. We need you to vote for the people who you know are going to do what needs to be done to protect you and to help the future of New York and our families and your children.
You're great. And that's what I've been saying. Forget about party lines. I mean, you got to come out, and those incumbents that are there that have been there for 30 years in the assembly, they've done nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, I'm not talking bad about my competitor, Carmen Yeager, on a personal level. I'm going to talk now because I said I wouldn't do that. But on a level of accomplishments, zero, nothing. He's got nothing done. Nothing has been accomplished. I mean, maybe it was part of the budget and the ethics committee, and even that girl, Ina Vernikova. Nothing is done. But when she's in office less than 2 years already, she has a kickback scandal. There should be no scandals. There should be no additional work. You should be only concentrating on your job and getting there from morning to night. I want to thank my audience. I want to thank everybody who've been watching the show. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Have a great night, and they're going to play the music. And Brian, thank you, and I want you over to my house for Shabbos because I know I'm going to have a nice girl for you over there.
You got it,
and I know you've got money, so bring a nice bottle of wine. Don't be cheap over
problem.
here.
And thank you for having me on the show.
I love you. Thank you.